A car mechanic deceived some of the world's richest investors out of $1 billion. He managed to pull this off in a country like the United States without running away with a loan or robbing any banks. Instead, he made all this money selling solar panels. His plan was so cunning that even some of the biggest industrialists in the world fell into his trap. But what exactly did he do? Who was this man that even fooled investors like Warren Buffett? And most importantly, how was his scam finally exposed? Let's find out. Viewers, 36-year-old Jeff Karpoff from California started a car repair business with his wife to make ends meet for their children. But soon the business failed, making it hard for them to provide for their family. Jeff had an obsession with getting rich, so he was constantly trying new things. But success always eluded him. When his financial situation worsened, he started selling drugs to feed his children. Gradually, he accumulated debt, and paying rent and bills became increasingly difficult. Even selling drugs didn't seem like a sustainable solution, so Jeff started looking for a job. Finally, he landed a job as a solar panel salesman. His job involved meeting people daily to sell solar panels, which gave him the opportunity to understand their concerns. In a short time, Jeff realized that while people were interested in buying solar panels, they were afraid they might get stolen. Jeff saw a big opportunity to make money by addressing this fear, and a solid idea began to form in his mind. He thought, why not come up with a way to keep solar panels secure? If the panels could be fixed onto a truck or trolley, used during the day, and then moved to a secure location at night, it would solve the problem. The plan was great, but there was a major issue. Jeff had no technical expertise to make it happen, so he contacted his cousin, who was a mechanic. After some effort, they developed a mobile solar generator. It was essentially a frame mounted on wheels, with solar panels fixed on top. Once used, these panels could be locked up and moved to a secure location. Meanwhile, portable diesel generators were already available in the market and worked similarly to Jeff's idea, except Jeff was using solar energy. The portable generator market was worth $3 billion. However, neither Jeff nor his cousin had any idea how to compete in this market or how to convince people to switch from diesel generators to solar ones. But fortune smiled on them. One of their customers at the car repair shop, named Watson, was a software professional. When he learned about Jeff's idea, he offered to help them start a company. They named the company DC Solar, and Watson and his team joined in to handle marketing.
Instead of targeting the general public first, they targeted Hollywood, where noisy diesel generators were being used on movie sets. DC Solar's mobile solar generators provided a quieter alternative, and soon they were being used on several big movie sets. In 2009, a famous American actor and film producer posted pictures of these solar panels on his Facebook account, giving the company a big promotional boost. Meanwhile, Jeff started networking with various businessmen and began expanding his connections. He never missed an opportunity to talk about his company at public events. Before long, Jeff partnered with the world-renowned law firm Nixon Peabody. During this time, the US Congress passed a law that tripled the tax credit for investments in solar technology. This meant that any business purchasing solar panels could get 30% of their money back in the form of tax credits. Essentially, companies could save money on electricity costs and get 30% back from the government for investing in solar technology. Alongside this great government offer, DC Solar introduced a new package where businesses could buy solar panels by paying just 30% upfront, with the remaining 70% payable in installments. The offer was too good to refuse. For example, if the solar panels cost $100,000, companies only needed to pay $30,000 upfront to book them from DC Solar. The same 30% would be reimbursed by the government, meaning companies could get the solar panels without actually spending any money. The remaining 70% could be paid in installments, which they could easily cover by saving on their electricity bills. It was a win-win situation, and DC Solar's network expanded rapidly. In 2011, while Jeff was watching a baseball game in a stadium, He received a message that the famous paint company, Sherwin-Williams, had placed an order for 192 mobile solar generators. This was Jeff's biggest order, worth $29 million. Additionally, an American bank working on tax reduction and job creation was interested in partnering with DC Solar. Jeff forged documents and fabricated data to convince the bank that demand for solar generators was skyrocketing. This led to the American bank becoming DC Solar's first financial partner. The bank's plan was to purchase solar generators from DC Solar and lease them to others, thereby reducing the tax burden and electricity bills for their clients. So far, everything was going smoothly, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But soon, the generators installed on movie sets started malfunctioning, frequently breaking down. This was expected because Jeff and his cousin had built them with limited knowledge, often relying on Google for information. Slowly, complaints started pouring in from generator owners. When the solar generators failed, they had to rely on diesel generators once again. Jeff, who was essentially an ordinary man, began living a life of luxury as money started pouring in. He lost focus on the business and started lying to cover up his failures. Only the first batch of panels for Sherwin-Williams had been produced, and the deadline had passed. To deceive the company, they fastened previous panels together with nuts and bolts, even though they weren't functioning. Jeff was living the high life. He bought a new house and a new car. As orders were delayed, no company was willing to lease the generators for 5 to 10 years. Without long leases, DC Solar couldn't pay its old investors. But Jeff and his team devised another plan. They secretly developed a scheme where the money from new buyers would be used to pay off old investors. Additionally, by branding themselves as a solar company, they continued to claim millions in tax credits from the government. Essentially, they were using forged documents and fake data to siphon off taxpayer money. Now it was time to put this scheme into action. To do this, Jeff needed new investors so that he could use their money to pay off the old ones. He showed fake data to every investor, making it seem as if generators were flying off the shelves, even sending them from one location to another to create the illusion of high demand. This made investors believe the business was booming, and they eagerly poured in more money. By pulling these tricks, Jeff deceived Shell Company and swindled $76 million from them. In 2014, when the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, attempted to investigate the company, DC Solar's legal representatives successfully convinced them to drop the inquiry, saving the company. The entire company had turned into a scam machine, fooling investors with no real sales or incoming cash from the public. But investors' money kept flowing in. Jeff was still on the lookout for bigger investors. It was Jeff's good fortune that Valley National Bank wanted to purchase $76 million worth of solar equipment, and they had asked for a list of companies that provided solar generators on lease or rent. On this list was the name of DC Solar, which was falsely claimed to rent out 80% of its generators, when in reality the number was only 5%. Valley National Bank also fell victim to this fraud. Similarly, Jeff Karpoff also trapped the insurance company Geico in his scheme. This company is a branch of Berkshire Hathaway, whose owner, Warren Buffett, is one of the richest people in the world. But the question is, how did such a large company get deceived? Jeff used clever tactics for this as well. He bribed an employee of America's major telecommunications company, T-Mobile, to sign a fake document stating that T-Mobile was leasing 1,000 generators from DC Solar for the next 10 years, and when companies like T-Mobile are part of your portfolio, it becomes easier for others to trust. Geico also signed a 3-year contract, which involved purchasing 8,000 generators with a total cost of $1.2 billion. Initially, this deal benefited Geico as well, since they were saving 30% or $377 million in taxes. But in reality, their money was being used to pay returns and lease payments to earlier investors. Meanwhile, Jeff's luxurious lifestyle was at its peak. He had purchased numerous villas, over 100 cars, and even a private jet. By now, DC Solar's name had also reached the media. DC Solar sponsorships were visible on cars, meaning no one could stop Jeff. But now, fate began to tighten its grip on Jeff. An employee of DC Solar exposed the company, leading to investigations by the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Upon proving the fraud, Jeff was arrested. Investigations revealed that Jeff Karpoff was running a Ponzi scheme under the guise of selling generators, where he was taking money from new investors to pay the older ones. Ponzi schemes like these only last for the initial few years, but once the inflow of new investors slows down, the real problem begins. In such cases, the company either disappears overnight or the owners get caught. Jeff Karpoff ran a billion-dollar Ponzi scheme in a country like America, involving major companies. They had made a total of 17,000 solar generators, but only on paper. Investors were shown fake GPS trackers, claiming that many solar generators were operational in the market. However, investigations revealed that those GPS trackers were not on generators, but were actually buried at various locations in the ground. On November 9, 2021, Jeff Karpoff was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Along with him, his wife and 5 others were also sentenced for their involvement in the scheme. We hope you thoroughly enjoyed this Dark Bright video. Don't forget to like and share. We are always grateful for your love-filled comments. See you in the next amazing video.